Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to DS Radio Shop. Just gonna kind of do a little rant you this morning. See if anybody has any hot topics. And one thing I'll discuss here this morning is some point in time here. I don't know, maybe later on today or else this week. I'm going to build a two-tone generator for sideband use. So that's my goal. Just checking to see if I got all the parts. Right now I'm just going through a bunch of crystals that we have found laying around in a little tote. And see what we've got here. We got a bunch of finals as well. And other transistors we're going to test while we're kind of just sitting there hanging out for a Raichu this morning. Got all kinds of messiness on my countertop here. That's okay. We'll go through them all here in a moment. I'm just checking a few things and seeing what's happening here. It is Monday for sure. And everybody has going on. Kick off your week. Hopefully to a good start. Morning, Garrett. How are you? Welcome to the channel. Just kind of getting a couple things here together for today. Hopefully do it today. If not, we'll do it another day here this week. But let's see if I get all the parts. Transistors are what I'm really waiting for. What I'm going to do is make a two-tone generator, sideband purposes, just for a little fun kit. And in order to do this, we need to have all of our gizmos together, which is basically all of that, not these parts here. Let's get these out of the way. It's always fun to build something once in a while. Not that I need to do this, but it'd be kind of nice to have a little spare two-tone generator. One I could balance out. So that's pretty much the whole kit. Right there is all of this. This whole area right here is all the two-tone generator. Just a little concerned about the transistors, as they prefer to use a BC547, and I'm going to use the 2N3904. Should work, but it's got a little bit lower gain. So we'll have to see what that does. If it actually comes out the way I want it to or not. Potentiometer here, potentiometer there. So we will see, I suppose, how that will work out. A little baggy for now. I'll get to this a little later. I got some other stuff to do first, but just trying to get something going here for like a little kit. And then, of course, these are just way too long of a wire. I don't know why they did this. I bought these a while ago. Nice, is 8 or 5? Yeah, 5-volt regulators, okay. So we're going to go about to here. This, fold it on over for the moment. So I'm gonna build this later on. I got a couple of priority jobs first. I'm just trying to get all my stuff together. That's the whole kit for a two-tone sideband generator. So it'll be later on, we'll all build this together. I'm going to build one, test it, and then I'll build another one with everybody if they want to build their own. And I'll show you the schematic and all that wonderful stuff too. When we get near it, let's say I got some other priority jobs first I've got to take care of. And then we'll go ahead and take a break and build this two-tone generator kit when we get to it. So in the meantime, kind of get through all of these here crystals and see what we got going on, all these finals, etc. So, morning, Matt. How are you? Michael, how we doing? What's the temperature up here? I don't know. Let's take a look. Garrett wants to know what it is. It sure as hell ain't 70. That's for. Okay, so it's 24 degrees up here in cold country. I think we'll go back down to single digits here, or low double digits. I think later on this week too. So, yeah, how about those Buffalo Bills? Oh my goodness gracious, that was a heck of a game. Leadfoot, good morning. Rick, good morning. Man, oh man, I really wanted to see Buffalo go. I really did. I wanted to see Josh Allen to get his ring and the rest of the team, because they worked so hard. But Mahomes is unstoppable just as much as Josh Allen. That's a heck of a game last night. It's so close. But just so sad they couldn't pull it off. I was really hoping they were going to do it. But that's okay, because come Super Bowl, Eagles are playing. And I hope that they beat the KC. I don't want to see KC go back. They got enough rings. Goodness gracious. Share. Anyway, we're going to test all this stuff. We're going to label what we got. And kind of want to see what all do I really have here. For crystals. Because I don't know. I just happened to locate these today when I was looking for some parts in my trays. I didn't know I had a variety of crystals. So we're going to take a look and see what we got going on. Kind of just sort through these while we all react to you a little bit. This morning, anybody got any hot topics they want to bring up, go for it. And let's dive right in. Okay. We're going to just kind of sort through these a little bit here while we react you, and then I'll get right into some other stuff. So the moral of the story yesterday was basically, be careful who you have touch your radios, because you don't want to be lied to. And when you have too many watt meters in line, it tends to have a problem with, you have leakage, you have drainage, you have loss. And it all adds up in the end. Some of which are between 1, 2, 3, if not 4 watt difference. Seven, 14, 37, 8. $23. Let's see what we got here. I didn't even know I had all these crystals later on inside of a little container. So I thought I'd sort through these while we're checking out some finals along the way, and let the rad shoot begin, I suppose. So, what did everybody learn yesterday from the videos we have done? We get ready to do this two-tone generator. We'll show everybody, how to make one. You can make your own if you wish, and it'll be a fun time to do for sure, because it's important to have as much test equipment possible needed for different applications. Anybody need any crystals? I got a lot of them here. I won't be using all these. 1496. Yeah, a lot of 10 megahertz, 23 megahertz, 14 megahertz, 37 megahertz. I didn't realize I even had all these laying around. Just kind of cleaning out a lot of parts. Looking for one thing, and I end up finding these, which is fine. Okay, where did I see you? Right there. These are a mixture between like scanners, radios, all that stuff. Let's see if I have any of those. I guess I don't. Okay, cool. Well, I got some of these in stock now. So, yeah. So I mean, these all come out like scanners, CB radios, mostly CB radios, really. So the crystals are just capacitance. It's variable capacitance, is what they are. Just wires inside with some capacitance to change the value for frequency. 1450. Here. We got that one already. Use 10s. 14,990. I thought I'd seen that one already. Yeah. Most of these, I guess, I have already in stock. I just did a search on. Some of them I don't. That's okay. I'll have an extra few parts, I guess. But yeah, you can. I mean, crystals you can utilize for many different things. Let's see. Oh, I have that one years ago. Is it just wires inside with a change of capacitance, variable capacitance? So you can utilize these to kind of change the orientation of them. You can change the value. It's a coil inside with wires, and it changes value of capacitance. Is what crystals are made of. I mean, you could take any one of these crystals and make yourself a nice little circuit out of them. 23,490. Just do one of those. 23,190. I thought I had one of those too. Hmm. 23,440. And the last one of this Born step here, 23,290. Okay. So, what we will do, a couple little baggies here. I'll separate these in their own little trays later on. For now, just kind of put them all in a baggie as to all the 23 megahertz into one and so forth. A lot of these are all plug and play. They're not soldered. Some of these are soldered. Like that one's a soldered type. And this one's plug and play. Which they have sockets on the board. You just push the crystals in and out. These ones require to be soldered in. So that'd be the difference of those. Good question, though, Tim. Very good question. As to what these are made out of. '21 South Carolina. Good morning. How are you? Welcome to the channel, Brandon. Hello, Brandon, and hello, World Radio 456. How are you, Mr. Richard over in the UK? Good morning. I can sort these later as far as where they gotta go and put them in order. Just for now, I want to at least get them identified and write down the frequencies and go from there. So, and then I want to check and see what these transistors would be, because I think some of these may be good, and that'd be great because I'm getting pretty low on some parts here. So, all right. Here's all the bag of crystals. Now let's start checking these bad boys out and see what they've got. Oh, our first one for a tall tale will be a 2SC 1173. Let's see what the HFE is, because these should be low, not high. If it's high, it's just no good, or it might just be shorted out. I don't know, these are all used, so we're going to find out here in a moment. 61, so this one's good, it's not showing it short. So okay. The rest of it I don't care about. I just want to make sure we see if it's any good. So that one appears to be good. Here's another 1173. Can anybody tell me what these 2SC 1173 transistors would be used for? Without Googling, be honest and drop your comments below. They actually are multi-purpose, really. 76. He's good. We'll do that one last. Here's a 2SC 1096. Can anybody tell me what they're used for? If you can figure out the 1173, you should be able to figure out the 1096s. You never did figure that out, Brandon? Huh. I don't know, it sounds like he had a little bit of a fluke or whatever was going on there. I'm not quite sure. So 51, he's good. Anybody got a clue what the 1173s and the 1096s were used for? Can anybody put those in the comments below? Let me know what your thoughts are. Now we kind of see what's going on. 52. Almost a match pair, pretty close though. So he's good. Is he on the bed or? Yeah. Okay. All right. Love it. School bus just came up on my boy. All right, what's this guy here? 2SC 2029. No one's dropping comments this morning. Must be everyone hasn't had their cup of coffee. So the 2SC 1173 and the 2SC 1096s were used for multiple purposes. You can use these, the 1173 as a final. You can use it as a regulator. You can also use it as a push-pull audio circuit. Same as the 1096s are used as push-pull audio circuits. Okay, this is a 2029. That's a 62. So these are all good transistors, actually. So far, there's a 2166. Let's take a look and see what's going on with him. Okay, dial protection between collector and emitter. 6. Okay. He's good. These are all just pulled transistors from God knows when. I have no clue. I've been sitting here mixing with a pile full of parts this morning. I was looking for one thing and found these along with the crystals. Okay, 37. And that is a 1969. So these are all good transistors yet. Well, here's an oddball. SC 1678. You don't see many of those around. These are more like your older radios they'd use them in for the finals. Try to get this on here. There we go. $15, that's a good one. You might find these like in a Cobra 85, possibly, what we call the shoebox radio, which I'll be bringing one up on the bench here shortly. For anyone who hasn't seen those before, they are a nice collector radio. Here's a 2SC 2078. $96. It's not bad. $2028. what did I say, 78, I think it's something? Yeah, 2028. This is a pre-driver. They use those as drivers or pre-drivers, provided what radio that you want to, what they come out of. Let's talk about antennas for a moment here. We'll add that to our rag too this morning, since everyone's kind of still sleeping yet here. So the topic right now we'll discuss is about antennas. What is the proper way to check your antenna in your SWR to make sure it's good? What is the proper way? Anybody have any answers to that? Put your comments down below. Let's see what you guys have to say about the antennas. This guy, this would be used more for a audio amplified circuit, I believe, or a regulator. So 1226A. What are your comments down below, guys, as to how would you calibrate your antenna? What's the proper way of calibrating your antenna? Anybody say? Anybody got any answers on that? 26. Yes, these are all good transistors. All good used transistors for sure. So that's nice. Very good. So the 2166s, we know where they can go. Jesus. Don't have one for that. Okay, good morning, Bionic. How are you? He says SWR bridge. Very good. Matt says analyzer. Very good. Leadfoot's the class clown. He says stick your tongue on the end of it and the coax to see if you got lightning coming through. Oh boy, what are you doing there, Leadfoot? You must have already had three pots of your coffee, it sounds like. He's waking up the class. That's what he's doing. Michael says quality SWR close to the transmitter, power set low on a radio that has various power levels. Proper grounded antenna with a radio, good connection, properly tightened. Yep. So all good answers. But there's one thing that nobody said. What would that one thing be? Matt said analyzer, which is correct, and this kind of leads to what he has in that comment. So what would you do with it? Where would you put the analyzer when you check your antenna? I'll give you that question. Where would you place your analyzer when testing the antenna? There's three parts to that question here in a moment. Let's see what your comments are below, guys, with the question. Where would you put your analyzer and why? We'll do a two-part off of that one right quickly. Got a Bugs Bunny in the group today. Leadfoot's all wired for sound. Goodness gracious. Did you sleep at all last night with Leadfoot, or are you just kind of excited to be on the air? Alright, let's get these crystals out of the way. They can be sorted later. Get this out of the way. Okay, what do we got here? Michael says, I suspect you placed it close to the transmitter. Okay. So it tests the component of the antenna system beyond the radio. Okay. Matt says start with right at the antenna, then at the end of the coax where it connects to the radio. That way, if something changes at the coax, you already know the antenna is good. Leadfoot says the actual coax, or use the actual coax that you're using when using the analyzer. Okay, very good. So all good answers except Matt is the correct one. They're all correct answers, don't get me wrong. Every one of those are all good answers, and they will all work, yes. But Matt's statement is very true because you want to put the analyzer at the antenna with the shortest connective point. Okay, so if you have, for example, good morning, David, how are you? If you have, for example, we'll say you put it right at the antenna and you find out your antenna says, oh, I don't know, here, let's just do it like this. I'll make this easy. Language is one thing, but pictures are a different thing, right? So we got some pictographs here. So let's go and get this out of the way. All right. So you have your, I'm just going to make something up here like this, okay? That's your antenna, right? Then you got your radio. And then you got your coax line coming from the radio over, right? Over to the antenna. So the best thing to do is put your analyzer right at the antenna itself. So when you put your analyzer at the antenna, let's say you have an analyzer right here. Right there is A. Okay? So you're going to disconnect the coax. You're going to put the analyzer right to that antenna. So we'll do a basic symbol for the antenna. There you go. And right here is your analyzer. So let's say the analyzer is right here, and then you're going to match your antenna. Let's just say you get a perfect match, right? Let's say you got a 1.0 to 1. You got a nice flat match, we'll say, right? Okay. Now, we know that the antenna is tuned in correctly to its source, meaning wherever you've got this connected, including the ground source, we know that part's good. So we know that the antenna is set the way it belongs to its structure and it's grounded good, okay? Otherwise you want to obtain a low SWR. Now you're going to connect the coax back to the antenna. So now here's your antenna. And now we're going to connect that right to where it goes to the CB radio. So what we're going to do is disconnect the CB radio. Now we're going to put the analyzer here with the coax. Okay, so we did it without the coax in between the antenna to the radio. We put the analyzer right to the antenna. We know we got a good match. Now we have a coax line in circuit here between the antenna to the radio. And we check to see our SWR. Let's say, for example, the SWR says, oh, I don't know, let's say, oh, I don't know, let's just make it simple, right? Let's say 1.03 to 1. ratio. Not bad. You'd leave it alone, right? But if you wanted this to match the impedance, then what you would have to do is calculate the length of the coax you've got from point A to point B to match the impedance. So let's say this number wasn't correct. Let's say it was a 1.7 to 1. Most people would go back out and readjust the antenna. You don't want to readjust the antenna. So what you would do is you would take and calculate the proper length of coax to match that impedance to the impedance at which the antenna has already been set. So you take your analyzer right to the antenna, you get your number. Then you put your coax on and you get your number. Now to get this number close to that number, relatively, then you would adjust this. So let's say you got 18 foot of coax, for example. Well, maybe you need, I don't know, 17 foot and maybe, 13, 16 inches. Maybe you need 18 foot and 1/8 inch over. I don't know. You got to calculate the proper length of coax to get that impedance to match this. And remember, the best connection with the least amount of loss is the shortest distance between 2 points. Meaning, if I've got, we'll say, 18 feet of coax inside of a truck, I should theoretically be roughly half or less. So the least amount, the better. So let's say you got a fender mount on your truck, and you got 18 feet of coax. You don't need all that coax. You gotta kind of calculate it down now to find the right impedance where you're going to be. So there's a formula you got to calculate that all out with. So when you put your analyzer, you got your antenna, you got your coax, and then you put the analyzer behind the CB. That's going to tell you everything, which means you might say, okay, I have my analyzer with the coax. We'll say, say you're at home, 75 feet of coax, and you got your antenna, and it reads out, 1.4 to 1. You're going to think, I'll leave it alone. It's pretty good. I'm not going to worry about it. Reality is, you're going to find out with performance, though, that if you go to the antenna, your antenna may be a little higher than this. Okay? So you want to check at the antenna, and then you want to check it after the coax, because you want to match the two impedances together to get that nice. A lot of guys would say, hey, I got a good SWR. I measured it right behind the radio, and it says 1.1, 1.2. And when you go to the antenna, some of these antennas will say 1.7 to 1, 1.5 to 1. I mean, you got to adjust the antenna, because what happens is when you go to do this and you have it just after the coax, you might get a good reading here, and then you're going to find out, geez, I'm not really receiving or getting out very well, but I got a good antenna, got good coax, got good SWR. What's going on with this, man? How come I'm not getting out today? And then people don't realize that your SWR is probably higher than it is here. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be significant. It may or may not be. But that would reduce the performance of the antenna, because your analyzation up here is much higher, or is higher at some point, than your ratio at the CB radio. So you want to make sure you always take your analyzer to the antenna, check that, make sure it's good, it's grounded, it's where you want it to be, get it tuned in the lowest you can get it, and then you put your coax on and recheck it at this point, and you see the two numbers, and then you try to take this number, recalculate your coax to the proper impedance to get as close as you can to your antenna number. That would be the proper way of doing your SWR check. Anybody any questions on that? Any thoughts? Any comments? Please drop them below. But that would be the proper way of doing it. I know years ago nobody ever really did. They just kind of, no, it's good. We got SWR meter. That's good enough. Just don't worry about it. But if you also know that a lot of time years ago, they would also cut a lot off the antennas, and they don't realize you're doing all this work on the antenna, and when you go to take the antenna and you check it over again, you're going to find out, wow, that antenna is not performing.
Without a cherry picker, how do you do that when you got an antenna that's up 30, 40 feet in the air? You can't do it on the ground. That won't give you an accurate reading. So how do you swing that?
Okay, so Michael had a good question, and I was actually going to bring that up here in a moment, but Michael kind of beat me to it. Okay, so when you have an antenna up in the air, and let's say, okay, you're 40, 50 feet up in the air, well, how are you going to get up there and adjust it? The proper way of doing that is make sure you got an open space, nothing's around. Try to get as much open area as you can. Take your antenna and put that on a 10 or 15-foot mast, and at least 10 foot should be fine. But usually 15 feet is pretty good, and you can adjust it from that point. But 10 feet would be more than sufficient. I've seen guys use an 8-foot mast. As long as you're out in an open area and the mast is grounded good, you can check that, like on a base antenna, for example. So you would check it on a 10-foot mast, get it mounted good, get your analyzer close. You can get it right to the antenna. Typically no more than like maybe a 1 foot, 2 foot jumper, 3 foot max, because now you're starting to change the impedance a little bit. Not by much, but a little bit. And so at that point, you would check it at the antenna, see what it does, and go from there. And if it's good, when you go to raise, let's say you got a 1.1 to 1 or 1.2 to 1, that's the best you're going to get. When you raise it up in the air, it's going to lower a little bit anyway because you're getting it up higher. So I would always check it at least 10, no more than 15 feet. Typically around 10 feet, it's perfectly fine. So I have a huge fold-out step ladder, one of those little giant ladders, and I'll set it all up right there and do what I got to get done, measure it all up. Okay, look at it, make sure it's good to go, and then I'll hoist it up in the air. And that usually keeps it pretty close to where you were at, if not a little less. It's not going to increase. It's either going to be about the same or less. So let's say you got a 1.3 at the antenna, and that's the best you're going to get. When you get it up in the air, it's going to be about the same, if not a little less. It may even drop down damn near close flat. But I've seen a lot of the times where they'll drop down 1.2, 1.1 to 5 and a half, or wherever, 1.1. I'm sorry, like a 1.1 to 1 or 1.2 to 1. If you ended up like a 1.3 down below on the ground. So if you're 40 foot in the air, obviously you need a cherry picker at that point. But you don't want to be that high in the air. You want to be able to do it down 10 feet off the ground, but all open space. That means nothing very close. Don't be near your shed, your house, anything with a metal structure or maple or pine trees that soak in the water. Keep it in an open area somewhere. You're not going to leave it there. It's just for testing purposes only. And I'll take mine, put it right out in the middle of my backyard in an open spot away from everything. Put up around 10 feet, check it, okay, when I'm good. Hoist it up in the air around 30, 40 feet. Recheck it down after the coax and see what my impedance says at that point as well. And you can always check your impedance of your coax before you connect it on both ends. You can actually measure that. There's formulas and ways you can measure your coax as well. You can put one side to a dummy load and then put the other side to an analyzer and kind of see what you have. You can measure your coax before you even cut it down to where you may need it. So most cases, I know they have the rule of thumb, 25-foot increment for base and 9-foot increment for mobile use. That gets you close in the ballpark, but it's not going to get you exact. Sometimes you kind of narrow it down. My truck, for example, we have 18 feet of coax that came with the mount. And where my fender mount is on the front hood, I didn't need 18 feet of coax. And where I ended up having to cut down with, I only ended up with, it was 6.5 feet and 3/8 is where my coax ended up to match the impedance and where that was mounted to match the impedance from point A to point B when my antenna was already at a 1.1 to 1. And where I had all that coax, I had nowhere to put it besides coil it or loop it across one side, come back and down to the firewall, thus giving me a 1.5 to 1. And I couldn't get it any less. Like, come on, this is ridiculous. And I didn't want to loop it because now you're going to create, any kind of RFI coming through. You don't want all that noise, engine noise, this, that, and you don't want to pick nothing up in the line. So I ended up taking it down 6.5 feet and 3/8, and that's where it was best fit for me. It still gave me about roughly 8 to 10 inches of slack inside the truck to move in case I had to bring the radio out from where it's located and it wasn't a tight fit. And that gave me right down to where I needed to be for my SWR. So it kind of varies on your situation, really, with that. But you should really put the analyzer at the antenna. You'll know, because if you receive and you're like, oh, geez, I got good coax, put it all together, put it up 40 foot in the air, so they got a flat match, okay. And some guys might even put a tuner onto it. Say, oh, I got a flat match, okay. But in reality, it's like an open wire. You really don't know what your SWR is until like I said, about 10 feet above the ground is more optimal, is where they tell you, and you can measure at that point, and you'll be able to see what you have. And when you hoist it up in the air, it's either going to be the same or it's going to drop. It's not going to increase because unless you tuned it around structures. You want to keep it on an open space away from any structure, and then you'll be able to be, you can get that right where you want to put it. Good question, though. Very good question. Because I ran into that before, and the guy who taught me says, no, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm just trying to get my damn antenna going, but I got to keep climbing up on the roof and then get up there where the tripod is and readjust it and come back down and do it again. It's like, this is like stupid. He says, yeah, it's stupid. What are you doing? So he just sat there laughing at me the whole time until he finally said, Stu, you're doing it wrong. I said, well, what am I supposed to do? This is what you got to do. And he told me this years ago. I said, no. Put the analyzer at the antenna and tell me what you have. I said, okay. Well, I got a 1.6 to 1. Well, there's your problem. I said, what do you mean? But it says it's like, 1.4 inside the house. I want to get it lower. He says, no. Don't worry about the house. Get your antenna tuned in first. And then I finally did. It took me a little while. And then after I got that done, he says, now, how many feet of coax do you guys? 50. Okay, that's not bad. He says, now come on down and show me what you got inside the house. And when I got all that taken care of, we ended up cutting off, I think maybe, 3/16 of an inch of coax. Wasn't much at all to match the impedance to what my antenna was at that present time. While he's laughing at me, and I spent 4 hours that day trying to figure out what the hell's going on with it. I couldn't get it down to flat like I wanted to. It was fine where it was at, but still. And he just sat there laughing like, well, are you done yet? What are you doing? It's like, okay, so that was a very valuable lesson he taught me. And I'll give you a little bit of proof in the pudding and a reference behind that too. So, for example, what do you call it? My antennas here. So I do my antennas all the same way with an analyzer. And then I come in, I measure what I got to have for my impedance for the coax to match up. So every video that you guys see me do, and you see me talk all across the world with 7 watts, 20 watts, whatever I got for radios, a lot of you guys are running amplifiers. A lot of you guys are running high-powered radios. I don't do that. And I talk all across the world because I have my antennas tuned in the way they should be. I had the proper length of coax measured to the impedance to match up to where I need to be to get that to match, hey, the antenna says this, but my coax says this. Well, I don't care what the coax says because that's got to match right to the antenna. So if my antenna says this, then I got to tell my coax, you better match up with my antenna because my antenna's not going to like you in the end. So whatever your antenna is, you match the coax up to that afterwards, and you'll be fine. You'll get out just fine. And that's why I get out all over the place on QRP power, like 7 watts, 10 watts. Ryan's Cobra 29 was here one day. We did that like 7 or 8 watts. I'm talking to Oklahoma, Arkansas, Kansas, on a ground plane antenna that's probably about 30 foot in the air. And, there you have it. So if mine was not tuned in the way I just described this, and I just kind of, okay, antenna's good, coax is good, it says what I got at the end, if I just relied on that, I would be struggling, wondering, why am I not getting received certain days? Why am I not getting out certain days? Why is it so hard? And there's times I struggle here because based on conditions, but for the most part, I can just jump right in here and key down, and I usually don't have much problem. Not often anyway, so. Yep, Ace, there you go, Mr. Ace. Yeah, I was just talking to you about that not long ago, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. I mean, everybody does things differently, and that's cool. Whatever works for you. You don't have to do it my way. I just find ways that the guy who taught me, he explained it all to me and it made sense. Of course, after that, we spent the next 2-3 weeks working on nothing but antennas to drill it into my head and all these formulas, because he told me, he says, now you got something new to learn. I says, we'll learn as we go. He says, no, we're going to do it now. It's like, oh my God. He was hard on me. But I thank him all the time. Of course, now I can only thank him in my prayers because he's been gone for 9 years, poor guy. But while he was alive, though, I used to thank him all the time because he was very, very knowledgeable. I was a very lucky man to meet a guy like that. Anyways, this right here is a kit we're going to build at some point in time this week, which is a two-tone tone generator. It's going to be a two-tone generator. So we got two different adjustments inside. I'm just kind of put it all in one little baggie for now. And I got to find a breadboard that I can make this with. And if it works out the way I'm hoping for, this is not going to be my design. It's going to be my build, the way I do it, but it's not my design. So there's a guy overseas in Germany who created this, very smart guy. And then Mike Radio Repair, everybody's very familiar with them, very good technician, excellent technician. So Mr. Mike did one as well. And I've seen the video before, so yeah, okay, maybe I'll build one. I thought, well, what the hell? I'm going to go ahead and build one and see what happens and kind of go from there too. So, but this is what we're going to do at some point in time this week. We're going to build this two-tone generator kit. I'm going to print that all up and show you. And I'll share the link where I found the schematic from as well, from the source, along with Mike's video to demonstrate and show you how they work and why. And so if anybody wants to build your own, then you can do so. And I'll share all the information as well. So I want to put a special thanks out to the gentleman who designed it, along with Mr. Mike, who actually did a video on this as well. And so if you guys want to check it out, you can check it out now if you wish. I can put that in the link down below. The guy who designed this was, I can find his name here, but his call sign is Delta Kilo 7 India Hotel. Let me see if I can find, I think I already had that over here. Let me see. He's in NR Karlsruhe, Germany, and his name is Peter Rechel. Very intelligent guy. So he builds a lot of fun stuff. You should check him out. And he's built a little two tube AM transmitter, 2 watt outputs, all kinds of stuff that he's made. So. But I'm looking at his page right now. It's pretty cool what he's got going on here. 27 megahertz using a 2312 and a 1306 final amp. AM modulator. And the guy's a genius. So if anybody wants to check this out, like I say, you can look him up online. And I will share the link. Well, I mean, I'll put his call sign down below, but I'll share the link as to the what do you call it, for the simple two-tone generator. I will do that right now while I'm thinking of it. Put that right here in my description. Alright, that is shared inside my description if you guys want to check it out, and the link down below. And you'll be able to build your own if you wish. So that's going to be our next one, is to do all of this for sure. Yeah. Anyways, we'll move on and like, share, subscribe, hit that bell down below, guys. And we'll see you soon here at the DH Radio Shop when we get ready to get ourselves started here in a few moments. Gonna take my daughter to school, be back here in a few moments. And then we'll get going on our projects. All kinds of radios ahead of us to get done. And we'll go from there. So see you all soon here at the DH Radio Shop. Welcome to your Monday morning.